Hi everyone. I wanted to post this today because I woke up thinking, okay, I'm going to post a study on the supermoon of November the 14th, which is tomorrow. Today is Sunday. And I wanted to do that for the reason of back in 1948, there was an earthquake the day before the supermoon of 1948. And the 1948 supermoon was similar in distance and closest to the Earth in the brightness. Hasn't been that way since 1948. Tomorrow's supermoon is going to be the same. So, and then I woke up and right before the day before the 1948 supermoon, there was a 8.2 earthquake. And this morning I woke up and there's a 7.6, I believe, in New Zealand. I've got some information on it. I just wanted to share it. This is going to be a short study, not too long. I wanted to read some verses after this. The supermoon of 1948 was January 26th. There was a huge earthquake on January 25th, 1948. And my question is posed the connection to gravitational effects. There are some people say, no, it has nothing to do with the moon. But, the way God connects the moon sometimes with the seas and the waves roaring, I think there is a definite connection there. And even as far back as 2011, with that big earthquake in Japan, that was in the vicinity of a supermoon. So anyway, the magnitude 8.2 Lady KK earthquake and tsunami of January 25th, 1948 in west central Philippines is the second biggest earthquake in the 500-year-old Philippines earthquake history. According to archives and catalog, 55 Spanish-era churches in Panay Island were damaged, 17 of which totally collapsed. 2 persons were said to have drowned along the Loyolo Strait because of the tsunami. So that was 1948, the day before the supermoon approached the Earth. Tomorrow, the 14th of November, 2016, I believe the best time if you just right before the sun sets and just follow it, because I'm going to be taking some film because it's very cool to photograph. I have this lens that it's able to just totally zoom in on the craters. So I'm going to be posting those. What I'll do, I think, is probably post the pictures of the moon, the supermoon, with a music video and just sort of interrelate the two and put it up. Probably by the end of this week sometime. So this is the following is from the Canadian Globe and Mail. This is about today's earthquake. An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.8 struck central New Zealand just after midnight, the U.S. Geological Survey said, causing widespread damage and generating a tsunami. New Zealand Minister of Civil Defense and Emergency Management warned of the risk of destructive waves along the country's entire east coast and urged residents in low-lying areas to evacuate and seek higher ground. Waves of up to 2 meters, 6 feet, could be possible for up to 2 hours, it said. Anna Kaiser, a seismologist at GNS Science, said a tidal signal or surge of up to 1 meter, 3 feet, had been recorded in North Canterbury region of the South Island. That's reasonably significant, so people should take this seriously, told Radio New Zealand. New Zealand's GeoNet revised its estimate magnitude of the quake to 7.5 from 6.6. And the USGS said the quake was centered 91 kilometers, 57 miles northeast of Christchurch, the biggest city on New Zealand's South Island. Let's see, a 6.3 quake there in February of 2011 killed 185 people and caused widespread damage. The tremor was felt throughout most of New Zealand. Some injuries had been reported, but there is no immediate reports of deaths. And this is from another Science20.com. Astrologer Richard Knoll, who first coined the term supermoon in 1979, believes that the lunar perigees do cause natural disasters on Earth. Supermoons have an historical association with strong storms, very high tides, and extreme tides, and also earthquakes, he told the Daily Mail. And you have people objecting to what he's saying, but I think there is a connection there. At its closest approach, the perigee, the moon appears brighter and larger in the sky. When it's furthest away, the apogee is smaller and dimmer. So tomorrow night's going to be the perigee, and that's going to be really cool to be filming. But you know, this connection with tsunamis and earthquakes. Now, for instance, March 19, 2011, the supermoon, the super bright full moon, occurred, and March 11, 2011, the Japan earthquake and tsunami happened. So here you go. That was only a few days separation. In 1948, there's a one-day separation. In today's quake, there was a one-day separation before the supermoon. Some astrologers and even astronomers are using the term supermoon to describe the March 19th, 2011 full moon. What makes it super is that on the day of March 2011 full moon, the moon will also be closest to the Earth for the month. The March 19th full moon will be 221,567 miles from Earth, in contrast to the moon's average distance of about 239,000. No full moon will be this close to Earth again until November 14th, 2016. So that was written way back then, and they were projecting this November 14th earthquake. The supermoon. The natural ordinance of the moon relates to the ordinances in God's Word. Now, I wanted to point these scriptures out because I came across them today, and I was looking at new moon, I was looking at full moon, I was looking at different aspects of what God says about the moon. Since he says that the sun and the moon and the stars in Genesis are for signs, and I think that's an important aspect to how God has set things up in his just universal clock that he has. And you know, when you see some of the stuff going on in the world, and you see that how we're closely approaching Christ's return on the last day, you know, I fully expect from some of the verses in the New Testament that there's going to be some cataclysmic things happen prior to Christ's coming. I'm thinking more so toward the nearness of Christ's coming, men's hearts filling them for fear, for the things coming on the earth. Some of these Bible verses that talk about this, you know, we've known about them for years now. We've studied them for years now. Well, people have studied them through the centuries, but the thing is, we are in the time of the end. We're the generation of the time of the end, and that's important to point out and see that, yeah, we're going to be experiencing some interesting stuff. This is Jeremiah 31:31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waters thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from me before me, let me start over on that one. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. Thus saith the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that they have done, saith the Lord. He's posing this question knowing he's saying, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out, then I'll do this. But it's impossible for anybody to do that. Only God knows that. So he won't cast off the seed of Israel, which is referring to the believers. We covered this many times, that the believers, the Israel of God, are those who have been circumcised by the heart through God's Spirit. And that's an important aspect of, when you read the Old Testament, you see these in Jeremiah 31, you see the seed of Israel, and you see that type of language. You know that it's talking to the believers. Now see, God mentions the moon and the ordinances, and then he says those ordinances, if those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So the thing is, these ordinances of the moon are very, very important. And I want to do some more study on this, because the more I'm looking at this language and the connection to God's Word, the more important, say, the signs of the sun and the moon and the stars are going to come into play in the next year and a half that we have before we enter the day of the Lord. I've already started one. I'm starting a series on parables. These studies on the parables will not be that much longer than probably a half hour. I don't foresee them going past that. But I wanted to allow for a little bit more of studying of God's words with the parables, because they definitely teach us something. And there's some that are difficult. There's some that are more easy to understand. We have to study as God gives wisdom to some of these parables, and especially like the cry that went out at midnight for the 5 wise virgins and the 5 foolish virgins. Those are important. That's important for our time. And other parables, like the first one I did, is how God says it's important that we establish our foundation upon Christ, who is the rock. And he gave an example of that. I think that's important to lay forth these parables. I'm working on some custom thumbnails, so when you see like on 2011 studies, when you see a white thumbnail with just a parable series on it, it means that's a parable study that we're starting. And I don't foresee them being too long of studies as individual studies, is what I'm saying. So they're going to be shorter than normal videos. And if they go past, they go past. I've always said that people can sit in the movie theater for 2 hours and watch a movie, but they don't take time to study God's Word. Well, I make no apologies for making an hour and 15-minute studies, but I know for attention span and learning, it helps if the studies are shorter. So that's all for now. I'm going to be posting, after I take pictures of the supermoon tomorrow night, I'm going to be posting that in a music video. And I'm not even sure what song I'm going to use, but I'm going to use one of my songs and then put that up so you can see if you by any chance didn't have any chance to see it tomorrow night. Hopefully the weather is going to be good. No covering by cloud cover. Anyway, God bless everybody. My name is Marty Catuzzo. The email is 2011studies@gmail.com. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Thank you.